What is up, MMA fans? Got Glove Talk, episode number 8. Here with my boy Jose.
Yo.
We're about to go over UFC Fight Night, Sandhagen versus Chito Vera, and then also go over the upcoming, not next week, but the week after that. We're going to have next week off for the podcast. But the week after that, we're going to cover, we're going to talk about Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. First of all, though, we'll give a shout out to our Verdict MMA. Download the Verdict MMA app and get picks in. We got a league in. We got a link in our bio. Join that league, you get points, and eventually we're going to do giveaways for like the top of the leaderboard. So just you bake your picks and you add a bonus to a pick and how you think they're going to get the win, and you get points based off that. So
I spent all my XP on Chito by decision.
I put mine on Holly. I put like 600 on Holly by decision. So
there you go.
The first fight we're going to go to, we got the Victor Altamirano fight versus Salvador. This was a banger fight. I think this is one of the better fights on the card. We got the decision win going to Victor Altamirano. I thought Salvador probably won this fight. I had him winning 30-29 or what? I can't think right now.
29-28.
29-28. I mean,
yeah.
So, what do you think about the fight?
I had Salvador winning too. I had it 2-1. But I mean, I'm not disappointed with it going the other way either. It was a very close fight. It was a good fight. Salvador's out here throwing the most unorthodox strikes. I loved it. I loved good fight. Altamirano stayed composed and all that. And I love that Vinicius had like the Ronaldo R9 haircut going on.
No, that haircut is trash, bro.
It's iconic though.
It's iconic. A little battle cry before on his weigh-ins.
It's iconic for Brazilians. Ronaldo had that during the 2002 World Cup, so that's iconic for them. But nah, man, it was a good fight, and I think for Vinicius, like his stock still goes up even losing this fight. Yeah, this is to start a card. This is a great fight. I think the flyweights really showed out on this card. I'm very excited to see what these lower divisions keep on doing, man, because these are some banger fights to start the card.
Yeah, I don't know how you give Victor the win there when it seemed like the whole third round he was trying to survive. He was trying to, shoot like forced takedowns, but
yeah,
forced clinch games. But
I think it was one of those cases where they valued the control time more than anything. But it's like it wasn't offensive. He took him down. He wasn't really doing anything with it. So for me, it's like it's tough to get. It was tough for me to give it to Victor if you're not going to do anything with your takedowns.
I mean, one of the judges did give Chito the win in his scorecard, so
we'll get there. We will get there.
Then we had CJ Vergara versus Daniel Lucerda. Lucerda coming out. I feel like he burnt too much energy trying to get the finish,
Yeah.
But, it was still a good fight, on both guys. CJ, weathering the storm. There was a couple of instances where he was actually running away from the guy. It was like ring around the rosy in that motherfucker.
Yeah. Shout out Jason Herzog, for giving CJ Vergara every opportunity to defend himself.
Yeah, because I think Izzy had less opportunities than that his last fight. So.
Daniel Lacerda, though, is like a UFC career mode fighter when you teach him how to do a spinning heel kick and you just spam the crap out of it the next fight. Bro, because every time he would throw something, it'd be like, spinning heel kick, spinning heel kick, spinning heel. And I'm like, all right, bro, like, relax. And, like, that's how he burned himself out. And I think for him, it's like, it wasn't just physical in the sense of, like, he spent too much energy, but also to have a guy that close to being out and you not being able to put him out kills you mentally. Like, I think psychologically he was defeated by the end of it, too. And shout out CJ Vergara, man. He did what he had to do in terms of, like, getting away from Lacerda when he was getting hurt. Literally running. Bro was on one running away from him. Came back and got the win. Did a really good job getting it back together and just ground and pound for the win. Fight of the night as well. So he got some 50K in front of his hometown crowd. Great fight, though, man. Great fight. Again, first 2 fights on the card. Great 2 fights.
I don't think he burned himself out just the finishes on the feet. He also tried to chase a couple submissions. I think he tried like a knee bar. Didn't he try to chase or something?
That calf slicer, yeah, and then he got smacked on the ground. Yeah.
Put himself in a bad position as well, so to get some damage. Then you got Trevin Giles out here getting the split decision win over Preston Parsons. This fight was kind of lackluster. Trevin Giles coming down. He used to fight at 205, so seeing him at welterweight's kind of crazy. But it seemed like he was just trying to fight, counter-striking the whole fight. Parsons bringing in the pressure, getting hit, but still coming in. I know it was a decent fight, but it wasn't the best fight. So
No, I agree. I think this is it was one of the most exciting fights. I'm shocked because Trevin Giles being so big still got taken down by Preston Parsons. Pretty convincingly, to be honest. Like when they did happen, and so uh, I mean, it wasn't the output wasn't the greatest in this fight from either guy. It was a decent fight, but nothing. I mean, for a split decision, I can see why you would score for either guy, but to me, it's like it is what it is. Nobody really made a impact, a statement this fight. So good win, but it is what it is.
then you got the last fight for Steven Peterson, him retiring after this fight against Lucas Alexander. He actually opened up as the favorite. I don't know how after watching this fight because Lucas Alexander seemed like a top tier featherweight. He looked like he could fight with like any guy in the top 15. So
Terrific striking from Lucas Alexander, man. He looks so fluid. His kicks, especially, his kicks had some bad intentions behind them. And for seeing Pearson, like to be able to retire on your own terms like that, I think it's what everybody in the fight game wants. So that was nice to see, and him with his family. But for Lucas Alexander, definitely made a statement. Very dominant win, in my opinion. 30-27s were definitely well deserved. He's only 27, man. He's only 27. I want to see more of him. I love what I see so far. I think definitely challenge him at featherweight. Give him something where okay, you got the striking talent. Let's give you a bigger stage. Let's give you a bigger platform to do it on. So great fight, man. I mean, I had fun watching it. Steven Peterson was eating every shot and coming forward still. So I mean, it's always fun to watch, man. I love it.
yeah, and then we had a close. I mean, it started off close, but then Pineda started pulling away. We had Daniel Pineda versus Tucker Lutz. The first round was kind of like a banger. They was throwing, and then eventually Pineda started weighing on him in the second round. He ended up getting submission win over him. So it was a good fight. I thought this was one of the more entertaining fights on the card. So
Biggest underdog on the card as well. I was shocked when he pulled this off. I did not have Pineda winning at all in any scenario, and he pulled it off, man. It was nasty the way he pulled it off too. I I think for Tucker Lutz, he had a lot of momentum and hype coming into this fight, and for him to get put out like this, like shout out Daniel Pineda, man, 37 years old. You know, yeah, he shocked the world. Well, at least the world that was watching the fights last night is a fight night. But still, I mean, to be coming as the biggest underdog on the card, if you put money on him, congratulations. You definitely paid off your car note and your rent for a couple months. Because that was insane, man. That was insane. And for Tucker Lutz, it's how do you recover from this? How do you recover from getting choked out by a 37-year-old when you're the biggest favorite on the card? Like it's tough, man. But that's a fight game. That's a fight game, man. You cannot count anybody out. You never know what's gonna happen. So, yeah, definitely one of the more exciting fights on the card. This one was.
and then we had Chidi Nuchikawani versus Albert Duraev. Duraev, I think this was a pretty dominant win. I feel like he won on the feet. He won on the ground in the first round. Chidi wasn't really fighting. It seemed like he was just trying to survive. It seemed like he was throwing. He was only throwing one punch at a time.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a very. That's just how he fights though. Like the fact that this is a middleweight fight too. Both these guys are kind of big for middleweight. I feel like
Yeah.
these guys could be light heavyweights. Maybe that might be where Chidi's problem is maybe he's cutting too much weight. But I don't know. That's just how he fights though. I would put him in the same categories like William Knight and Jaquan Buckley. Them big
Oh
black
my
guys who
god.
just suck. I like Duraev though. So I mean, he won on the feet. He could have put more output on. I think he was kind of scared of Chidi's power, but he was realizing he was still winning on the feet and on the ground. So he was just he wanted to show that off, and he showed it off. So I
No,
like
I
how after the fight he says, "Hey Houston," and they're in San Antonio, and the crowd just starts booing him. Fucking record.
um Chidi and Jokani definitely goes in the category of like William Knight, Joaquin Buckley, um oh my gosh, what's his face? Jamie Pickett, Odie Osborne. Yeah, Odie Osborne. I saw you and follow us. You're in that category too. Chidi and Jokani, man, very talented, zero output. zero output. And I'm gonna be honest, if he would have had more output, even just a tad bit more, he would have won this fight. It's just a matter of Duraev was the one putting together the strikes more. The leg kicks, especially, he was killing him with the leg kicks, and just Duraev just looked like the fighter that wanted it more. I'm gonna be honest with you. Chitty was very defensive. When he did throw, it was just one shot. And if he did throw two, the last one would miss, and he would get frustrated and just go back throwing one shot. The body kick was there for him all night, and he barely used it as well. So, like, I mean, it's just for cheating Jokani, man. I mean, you gotta do better than that. You gotta do better. I know you're scared of the takedowns and stuff, but like, brother, you have the striking advantage. You gotta take advantage of it. You cannot be sitting there throwing one punch, one punch, one punch. In a 3-round fight, especially, you don't have time to do that.
Yeah,
You have to get after it. So.
I think he needs more tools. He needs to develop more, like maybe more not teep kicks, but that front leg kick,
Mm-hmm.
um, stuff like that can keep people off of him and keep people off his legs a little bit, but doesn't also open up himself to get taken down. So,
Mm-hmm.
which that's what like a head kick does. And when you go for a head kick, that allows him to catch the kick and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
then we had I don't know, man. You side of the judges, bro, because we had Andrea Leah versus Macy Barber. I like Macy Barber. I had Macy Barber winning the fight, but somebody scored it 30-27 for Macy.
That was Dan Mergliotta, as in UFC referee Dan Mergliotta was judging this fight and gave a 30-27. Brother.
Faded. You side of the judges, bro.
And I'll be honest with you. I I had Macy winning, but I would not have been mad if people scored it the other way.
Yeah, I
She
was
did
not.
not, she did not look good at all this fight. Like,
I wouldn't say she didn't look good, but because Andrea Lee, you did tell like all those takedowns and all the control time was like survival takedowns and survival control time, but and then also Macy on the ground that one round she like locked her arms up in her legs and then she was throwing mean ass elbows from the bottom, so
mhm.
doing more damage. So that's why I gave her the fight because it seemed like she was doing more damage every round. But the fact that he gave her 30-27, that's faded, bro.
No, and the reason I say she didn't look great is because the expectation on Macy Barber has always been future champion, future champion, future champion. And I'm gonna be honest with you, her last few wins, she's either being gifted opponents that have supposed to be cakewalks for her, or she's being gifted very bad decisions. I don't think this was necessarily an egregious decision, but that 30-27, man, come on. There is no way you can score that 30-27. Like every judge scored it round 1 for Macy, and I think you and me would score round 1 for Macy as well. But then round 2 and 3, uh the 3 judges flipped those last 2 rounds, which, I mean, sure, I get that, but you can't score all 3 rounds for Macy. They
Yeah,
were so close those last 2 rounds. Like,
one of them 100% Andrea Lee won. I think
yeah.
round two she won.
Yeah, I agree. I think round 2, Andrea Lee definitely won, and then Macy did what she had to do in round 3, in my opinion, barely. But for 30-27, man, that's wild. That is wild.
Yeah,
I
this
don't
might
know.
be one of the worst judged cards I've seen in a minute. There's a couple crazy ones on here.
Bilal Muhammad had a good point. He's like, because you're talking about the main event, which we'll get to, and he's like, grab the judge that scored it this way, sit them down, and let's just interview them. Let's ask them why, and just sit down and watch them. I want to hear what the judge. I want to hear as a fan what judges have to say when they score a fight. Why are you scoring it this way? What are you seeing? Because if listen, MMA Twitter is a very divisive place. Don't get me wrong. But if all of MMA Twitter is calling you out on your judging, we're not the problem. The judging's the problem at that point. Because at the end of the day, yes, we all see things differently. Yes, we have our own biases. But if everybody can definitively agree that someone didn't win all 3 rounds of a fight, somebody did something wrong at some point. You
I mean,
can't say
yeah, I
that
mean, as somebody
thousands
who
of people are
wanted,
wrong.
as somebody who picked Macy to win and wanted her to win, and I also don't think that she won every round. That shows like I don't know what these judges are looking at for real, but that happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, for sure.
And then we had Nate Landwehr versus Austin Lingo.
Nate the Train, choo
Yeah, he's up
choo.
up in his stock in the UFC. getting the submission win in round two. He looked good this fight, bro. He got tested a little bit. He got caught a couple times, but he weathered the storm and he got the win and he upped his stock in the UFC. And that was a good after fight interview he did as well. So
Yeah, man. I love it because Nate Landwehr fought a pretty quiet fight, and then he just exploded in the second round, man. Uh, Landed that kick, knocked his mouthpiece out after he took him out, and then choked him. Listen, Nate Landwehr, man, his stock is definitely going up, like you said. He trains at MMA Masters, Colby Covington's training partner down there in Miami. Um, and he's getting better every single time in the UFC, man. He is entertainment at featherweight, especially. That's an interesting division to have him at. A lot of fights you can make for him that are fireworks, and every time with him, you're either gonna get something on the mic or you're gonna get something in the octagon. Or you're gonna get both, and like he's out here coming with the Colby fit with the no shirt underneath the blazer after the fight, got the chain on and stuff. Like bro is definitely becoming a fan favorite in the UFC, and the crowd loved it as well. He beat a Texan and got cheers from the crowd after the fight. Like
I mean,
that shows
he
you just
acts like
how
a
entertaining
Texan.
this
I
guy
ain't gonna lie, he acts like he's from Texas.
yeah, and that just shows you just how entertaining this guy is, man. And the thing is, he actually looked like he was developing his game this fight. I think last fight against Onama, it was more just swinging and banging because both guys were tired. Whereas like this fight, like he was composed, he set up his shot, he set up the takedown, he knew what he was doing. Very impressive win, and to do it against a guy like Austin Lingo on a short notice as well because he was supposed to fight Alex Caceres this fight. Impressive for me. Lane Landwehr stock going all the way up, man.
Yep. Then Holly Holm dominating Yana Kanitska, aka Yana Santos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which we don't like to see because we want her to be done, but she keeps getting these girls who have good rankings but are not that good, and then she beats
Mm-hmm.
them, and then she stays in the top five. So
Yeah.
that's just how women's bantamweight is right now, low key though. So
Yeah. For Holly, man, like she just signed a was it six fight contract with the UFC right before this fight. And she swears, don't put the word retirement next to me. Um, and listen, I for her sake at 41, I would rather see her hang it up. But hey, she put on a great fight last night. She dominated Yana Santos. Yana Santos kept rushing in there every single time for some reason. And
yeah,
Holly
she's
was
trying
just
to
like,
clinch with her. I don't know why she's trying to have a clinch battle with her. I feel like she would have been better on the. I mean, for the striking she did do, she landed more strikes on the feet
yeah,
for the striking that did happen. So
yeah. And Holly, they were trading partners, so Holly knows her game, and Holly just kept hip tossing her every time. And on the ground, like it was dominant. The 30-26 one was probably more accurate in my opinion. There was definitely a 10-8 round in there somewhere. Yana Santos, I think she needs to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate like how she approaches a fight like this because Holly Holm, it looked way too easy for her, in my opinion. I don't think there was a single moment in the fight where I'm like, okay, Holly's in danger. Like.
I mean, and yeah, and also Yana coming off having birth like 10 months ago as well. So this is her
Hmm.
first fight back from giving birth. So it takes a minute to get your feet back under you. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And for Holly Holm, I think the interesting thing is that bantamweight now she kind of puts her name up there. Like one of the fights I saw people calling out for it was Holly Holm versus Juliana Pena after this. Which I say run it. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I
I
mean,
mean, I think Juliana probably gets the Amanda trilogy, but I wouldn't mind that fight. It could happen.
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, because because Vieira lost
Hmm.
to Pennington, right? So or have that Raquel Pennington fight.
Yeah.
That's at bantamweight, I think, right? I think she's at bantamweight.
Yes, yes.
And then
So now at bantamweight, it's Raquel Pennington 2, Holly Holm 3, and Aldana 5, and Vieira 4.
yeah, so maybe that Pennington fight, or to see who gets to fight Juliana versus Amanda.
Yeah, we'll see. And it's honestly for a co-main event, I was not expecting a lot of this fight. It was a decent co-main for a fight night. So, you know,
Then you
okay.
got we had the main event. We had Chito Vera versus Corey Sandhagen. Corey, in my opinion, I gave him 4-1.
I agree.
I only gave Chito around 3
Hmm.
just because of damage off the strikes. But I think Corey had a perfect game plan. You know, he didn't show him too much. He didn't really let him calculate and find out his game plan because he wasn't really showing him nothing unless he had to. You know, that's the problem with Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz was bouncing back a little bit, like not even engaging the fight, showing him like how his footwork is. And I think Corey just stood there and he wouldn't show him nothing unless he had to. So I think he fought a perfect fight, and he fought behind his jab as well. So
Hmm.
I think Corey, you know, he fought perfectly. It wasn't the most entertaining fight, but that's how you got to fight a guy like Chito who has like good defense and
Hmm.
knockout ability. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I had this. I had it 4-1 as well. I gave round 3 to Cheeto, but I was very close to giving all 5 rounds to Corey, to be honest with you. And like the judge that gave it a 50-45, I don't mind it. Um, okay, I know everybody's talking about the judge that gave the 48-47 for Cheeto Vera, right? And to whoever that is, I'm sorry, I don't have the name off the top of my head. USADA, it's on you now. Is what was he watching?
bro,
What was he watching? Because the thing with Cheeto, and I love Cheeto, I'm a huge Cheeto fan. He's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. But the reason why Corey won is, like you said, he didn't let Cheeto get a read on him. You know, he fought with his hands up, unlike Dominic Cruz, while moving side to side. He was landing strikes. He was putting pressure on a defensive fighter like Cheeto Vera, and he had the better game plan. It was a perfect game plan, in my opinion. And Cheeto at no point in the fight was getting his offense off effectively. He at no point in the fight was putting Corey in danger. And other than round 3, in my opinion, he won round 3, but he won it barely. Like he won it because that flurry at the end, he took over the last 2 minutes or whatever. Bro, Cheeto himself admitted he lost after the fight, right? Cheeto himself admitted it was a bad performance. I think at that point you have to ask yourself, where in there are there 3 rounds that anybody in the world could score for Cheeto? Three rounds, bro. Now, not one, three.
I'd be surprised to give him 2. You know,
Bro, I was surprised to give him one, and I love Cheeto. I barely gave him 1 round. Corey Sandhagen fought a fight worthy of him calling out Marab. You know, like he dominated. He dominated, bro. He outstruck him by 110 strikes. He had more takedowns. The takedowns were very good offensive takedowns as well. Yeah, Cheeto opened him up with the elbow, but he was still getting strikes off on the ground. He was taking him down at will. Like, I mean, there. Oh, and I don't
I think
understand.
somebody posted on Twitter. They're like, Bantamweight has Anthony Smith now. They're calling Cheeto the Anthony Smith the bantamweight, which I mean, I might agree with because he might be that guy who just can't beat the top 5 guys. Because I don't after watching that, I don't think he beats Sean O'Malley. I don't think he beats Peter Yan. I don't think he beats he don't beat Corey. He already beat Ralph Font though. So, but Marab, Eljo, I just don't see him beating those guys. So he might be the Anthony Smith of bantamweight.
I love Cheeto to death. He's one of the most talented bantamweights in the world, but he's got to get it going quicker, man. If he's gonna win against the top 5, he has to like. I know he likes reading and making like reads on like what the opponent's doing, their footwork, all that. If Cheeto just puts it out there from the beginning and just goes and imposes himself, he could beat anybody. His ground game's not bad. His striking's good. His defense is excellent.
His
It's
ground
just a
game
matter.
defense is good. Like you see round 1 and 2, like it just seemed like he wasn't trying. It looked like he was just trying to reserve energy. But in round
Right.
3, when he was getting shot at, he was stopping the takedown super easy. So I mean,
Right, and Jason Perillo kept kind of pressing him, like, "You okay? You good? Get it going." Like, because the thing is, Jason Perillo is his coach, and he sees it. We're the fans, and we see it. There's a great mixed martial artist in there. It's just a matter of, I think Cheeto just kind of needs to get out of his own head when starting to fight, and like just go. And I know he needs to fight smart. I'm not saying going out there with reckless abandon, but against a guy like Corey Sandhagen, the fights that Corey Sandhagen's lost, it's against guys that don't let Corey Sandhagen get in a rhythm. Because you see what happens when he gets in a rhythm, he's not missing strikes, he's not missing any takedowns, he's not making any unnecessary movements. He fights a very fluid and smart fight because he gets comfortable. You can't let Corey Sandhagen get comfortable. Aljamain Sterling pressed him from the beginning of the fight. Piotr Jan moved forward on Corey Sandhagen and have him fighting backwards the whole fight. And Song Yadong in his early success was putting a lot of pressure on Corey Sandhagen before he got opened up. So I think the game plan with Corey Sandhagen was not good for Chito because Chito doesn't fight that way. Chito kind of lets you, move around, get your shots off on him, do that. But the problem is against a guy like Corey, and I think this is why Corey's made for a 5-round fight more than anybody. He gets better and better as the fight goes on. He looks more and more comfortable. He knows what you're going to throw at him by the end of the fight. And I think with Corey, he's durable because there were some shots that Chito was landing that were tough, and Corey was just eating them.
Yeah, he's durable. His cardio is there. His technique is there. His game plan is there. I think he has all the boxes there. It's just, in terms of running into a guy like Eljo Marab, it's his grappling, his wrestling. So
No, for sure. And that's why with Corey, I want to see a Sean O'Malley fight. I think that would be a great fight for both guys. Like the way they both fight, the way they both like have their stand-up game. I would love to see that fight more than anything.
yeah, and I think that would be more. That would be like this fight, but it would be more exciting. Like it would be like two clones fighting each other. They kind of fight super similar.
Right. And in a 5-round fight with both super tall bantamweights, very long, very great strikers, very smart strikers, I think it would make for a better fight than Rob and Corey because nothing against Corey Sandhagen's wrestling or cardio, but Marab's
Marab's got the best in the UFC.
Marab's dude. Marab against I think Cejudo is probably the only guy that can keep up with Marab's wrestling right now at bantamweight. Like, and that's nothing against Corey, and I love the call out. I think it's the right call out for him to make, but nah, brother. Nah, Marab's diffy, bro.
Yeah, Marab doesn't have Cejudo like level wrestling, but his wrestling volume is just so high. Like it's just nobody can fuck with that.
Yeah. And for bonuses on this card, it was Vergara got a bonus for fight of the night. Landwehr got a bonus for the submission, and I think it was Pineda got a bonus for submission. No knockout bonus because there wasn't really an actual knockout this card. Which I mean, I would give this card. I'd say a 7. It did the job.
I'll give it like a 6 because I mean there wasn't really no bangers really. There's only like
At the beginning of the card, there was that was it. It was the first 2 fights that were like the bangers.
wow, they didn't throw a heavyweight onto the main card. It's crazy. Surprised.
I love that though because I'm not trying to. Oh my gosh, no heavyweight, bro. No heavyweight fights this card.
So I said they ain't
God's good. God's good, bro. God's good. I'm sorry. Heavyweights on pay-per-views I can live with because they're usually the better heavyweights. Heavyweights on fight nights I just go to the bathroom. I go poop, bro. I go take a dump. I'm gonna be real with you. So I'm happy, bro. And listen, like the girls I had on this card too, I'm very very happy, man. They put on a show as well. The lower weight classes just get a lot of crap. The flyweights put on a show as well. Nah, man. I think in that case it was a good card. It's just you look at the fights that were boring though. Welterweight and middleweight. So I mean,
I feel like
it kind of shows you where MMA has transitioned to now.
yeah, the little guys are taking over right now.
Oh, 100%. And I think as more fans are becoming less casual and are educating themselves on the fight game, they realize like these monsters at like 5'4", 5'5", with cardio for days, with technique for days, like they are some of the most badass fighters in the world, man. Because they can do stuff that like me at 6 foot, no matter how much I train or try, I can't do that, bro. Like they over here backpacking people, spinning every 5 seconds, bro, doing stuff that like for the bigger weight classes that carry more weight and more muscle, it's just tough, man. So I love it. I know. Shout out to these lower weight classes. I remember when the UFC was thinking of cutting the flyweight division a few years ago. Look at them now. I think flyweight and bantamweight honestly are running the UFC right now, in my opinion, man.
Featherweight too.
Yeah, featherweight too. Yeah, 100%.
All the little guys. I think lightweight. I think lightweight's the weakest division. Then I would say heavyweight. Then I would say
Light heavy.
Then I'd say light heavy's number 1.
Really?
I think they don't got no. Who do they have?
Oh, I say for weakest. Yeah, I'm saying weakest. Yeah. No,
Light,
100%.
light heavyweight's the weakest. Then I think it's heavyweight. Then I think middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
Then all the other weight classes are pretty. I mean, I think lightweight. it's starting to fall off a little bit, but I think they got some new people coming up to make it good again. So
So now that you mentioned middleweight, and as we transition to talking about the next pay per view, we're also going to talk about middleweight. They just announced Paulo Costa signed a 4-fight deal with the UFC, or is in the process of finalizing it, and Hamza Chimaev has officially moved up to middleweight.
yeah, they're gonna make the
So,
Paulo Costa Chimaev fight for sure.
yeah, so Paulo Costa wants either Chimaev or Strickland or both. And I think getting Paulo Costa back, getting him real middleweight opponents, not Luke Rockhold. No offense, to Luke Rockhold. Definitely makes middleweight a lot more interesting. I think for Chimaev, if he beats Paulo Costa, you have to give him a title shot,
Yeah.
no question.
Uh,
And I think that's a perfect fight to make. And I think for Sean Strickland, um, if he does get Costa first, that's another great fight to make. I'm not complaining either. I think middleweight has names. They just none of them fight. That's the problem.
yeah.
Like, Marvin Vettori is now up to number 3 at middleweight. Cannonier is still 4 somehow. Uh, There's just a lot of question marks here. Robert Whitaker, nobody knows if Chimaev and him are gonna end up fighting or not, or what's going on with that. Like,
I
you
think
know,
I think Whitaker is probably trying to wait to see if Pereira wins because if Pereira wins, that's the only fight that makes sense right now
yeah.
is to give him the Whitaker. So, I mean, I think if Izzy wins, then I think Whitaker has to go out and fight Chimaev to get a title shot or
So
fight.
and so now Brendan Allen got announced against Jack Hermanson. So you got number 10 against number 12 now. A good 5-round main event for Fight Night, in my opinion. I like the fight. Imavov coming off a loss to Sean Strickland at number 11, probably going to end up fighting Chris Curtis or Andre Muniz. Derek Brunson at number 8 retired, so he's probably gonna get taken off the rankings soon if he did actually retire. So honestly, the middleweight's an interesting division because you got Dricus Du Plessis sitting there at number 6, Sean Strickland at 7, who you don't know who he's gonna end up fighting because of the way fights are being played out. Um, it's a weird. The talent's there. They just need to book fights, man, at middleweight. And if Pereira beats Adesanya, that's another wrench in middleweight as well. So let's
I
get
don't think
into
that. I
UFC
don't think that's. I
287.
think if Izzy wins, it's another wrench because
Oh
Izzy beats Izzy. If Izzy wins, I mean they're gonna do the trilogy, but he's already beat all these guys up until Roman Delite and Sean Strickland. Has he fought Sean Strickland? No,
no, he's
but
not.
Sean Strickland got.
And Driscus, he hasn't fought Driscus either.
Oh, he hasn't fought Driscus, but like, do you want to see that fight yet? I really don't want to see that fight yet.
No, not yet, not yet. No,
I'd rather
no.
if Izzy wins and then he wins a trilogy, I'd rather see him go fight light heavyweight Yuri or Jamal
Or Hamza, or
oh yeah
Hamza,
Hamzat. I
man,
gotta think about Hamzat. Never mind. Yeah, Hamzat's gonna be in the ranking, so he's gonna fight Hamzat then.
or Hamza, and and for the rest of the rankings, like some of the fights on 287 at middleweight, you got Chris Curtis against Calvin Gastelum. Banger of fight in my opinion. If Calvin Gastelum even makes it, no offense, Calvin Gastelum, but he has a tendency of either not making weight or getting injured going into fights. Yeah, man. I mean, this next pay per view is big for a lot of weight classes, man. You got a huge fight at welterweight, a huge fight at bantamweight as well.
Huge fight at bantamweight.
Huge fight at bantamweight. Yeah, let's get into it. Some of the fights we look at here. Chris Barnett's fighting. I can't wait to see that, man. I love
Well,
some
let's
Chris
go.
Barnett.
Let's go to the prelims. Let's go to the early prelims.
Okay, early prelims. We got
Sam Hughes, wrestling girl. I got her winning that fight. She's gonna wrestle that girl.
Ignacio Bahamondes is fighting,
Oh
man.
yeah, he's a wait. Why is he even fought in so long?
I think he's injured.
Yeah, that guy's a demon. That spinning back, that spinning heel kick. Oh my goodness.
25 years old as well. Still, I love Bahamondes, man. He's such a good striker. So big for lightweight as well.
Oh, the Cynthia Calvillo fight versus Lupi
Yeah, that's a great fight as well. Both those girls are very game, very very good strikers as well. I can't wait to see that fight.
You
Mearshart against Joe Pyfer.
got Joe Pyfer, bro. I don't want to hear this. If you want to make it in UFC, you have to beat Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. I'm tired of hearing that every like. But I don't know though. He might beat Mearshart because Mearshart's a hit or miss guy. Puts on good fights, but he's hit or miss. Oh, Chris Barnett versus Chase Sherman.
Yep, we got Chris Barnett on the card finally. I love me some
And
Chris
he's
Barnett.
not from Spain, bro.
He was born there. Uh, Pretty sure he was born there. I think it was something like that. He was
He
born there on a
he's
military base.
American, bro.
I love that he reps it though. I'm not complaining. It's kind of funny. Like it's funny to see it
We
like
got
him with
no fat
this.
niggas in Spain, bro. They eat good over there. It's-
You be shot. You be shot. They drink a lot of beer, bro. But nah, Chris Barnett, man. Hopefully he makes weight. That's the other thing. Like
yeah,
that was amazing when he missed weight at heavyweight. Luana Pinheiro getting fed Michelle Waterson. I say fed because I'm putting my money on Luana for sure. No offense to Michelle Waterson, karate hottie. We love you, but yeah,
yeah. And the women's strawweight needs to get like some action in it for real.
yeah. Michael Chiesa against the Leech. I love this
Yeah, Michael
fight.
Chiesa needs to get back into it.
Yeah, he does. You know, I think if Michael Chiesa strings off a few wins, he can put himself top five at welterweight. But the Leech is not an easy fight. I thought Lee got robbed against Daniel Rodriguez in his last fight.
Yeah, he did.
He looks better with every fight, other than the Hamza fight where he got you know sent to the shadow
And
realm.
Lee's
But
actually training with Ian Machado, aka Ian Gary, who's actually about to fight Daniel Rodriguez. So
yeah, they're Kings MMA with Rafael Cordero. I love it, love that fight. I'm happy to see Michael Chiesa back, man. You got Kelvin Gastelum against Chris Curtis,
come on,
man.
Chris, this is my guy, bro. Chris Curtis is one of my top 5 favorite fighters in UFC. Oh God, and he's great content on YouTube as well.
Yeah, man, and that whole gym at Extreme Couture, man. I
Pure
love what those
entertainment.
guys. I love what they're doing over there, man. The middleweight roster they got going on in that gym is impressive
This
for
might be a
sure.
tough fight for Chris though.
I agree.
But I don't know though. The way Kevin Gastelum blitzes his punches, that might be bad because Chris Curtis is probably one of the. I think he has one of the best boxing skills in the UFC.
Yeah,
Counter striking at least.
it's tough for me with Kelvin Gastelum. I do have a soft spot for him because he was so good a few years ago. Had so much potential, and then it was the weight misses, and it's just tough. He can't go up to 205 because he's too short for the division. But yes, his jiu-jitsu is world class, man. He has so much talent. It's just the weight cuts kill him. You see, by the time he gets to fight night, he's just drained from the weight
Yeah, but
cuts,
his
and so
body, he has like a welterweight body though. But like he just carries weight. I don't know.
yeah. As a Latino man, I could tell you that's definitely a Latino thing, man. We got the guts for some reason. I don't know why. That's something I struggle with too. I love Calvin Gastelum, man. If he can come in, I think this fight right here, Chris Curtis, Calvin Gastelum, has potential to fight tonight
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure. If Kevin
They got
Gastelum,
Raul Rosas Jr. at 18 years old fighting Christian Rodriguez. Definitely a step up in competition. Rosas coming
is
in
it
as a
really?
fake. I think so
I
for
was ready to
Rosas.
see him like fight a guy who's like outside, like right outside top 15. Like this is just another journeyman guy, you know.
Except Christian Rodriguez is 8-1 and coming in as a plus 180 underdog. I'm gonna be honest with you, not to be a hater on Raul Rosas, but I might throw some money on Christian Rodriguez.
I mean, if Rojas wasn't like he just his grappling is just there, so I just feel like that's he always has that to lean on. If he starts getting hurt and touched in fights, he can go to the grappling, which he seems to be dominating people on the ground. So
Yeah, yeah, but at 18 years old, I think there's definitely a limit to when he starts getting overwhelmed by higher talent, in my opinion. I don't know if Christian Rodriguez is that yet, but I think once they go for a guy right around the top 15, that definitely will happen. But I think this fight's gonna be a tough fight for him. I don't think it's gonna be as easy as people think it's gonna be. I think for Christian Rodriguez, man, you can't go in fighting with fear. He has to go in and just it's 3
oh, he's
rounds. You got to
fearless.
get on.
I think the last guy he fought is pretty much the same type of pressure. Like he's not fighting a big name yet, so it's not gonna be added pressure more than his first fight. I feel like this fight's probably gonna be a little easier for him, probably.
Yeah, no, I know for Rosas, I agree. I'm talking about like for his opponents though, because they had the pressure of
Oh,
like you're fighting the star boy, like the young guy that the UFC really wants to push. If you lose this fight, no one's ever gonna let you live down the fact you lost an 18-year-old or 17-year-old. You know, so it's like that's a lot of pressure for a guy that's been doing martial arts their whole life. Like that's a lot of pressure, and so interesting fight. I'm disappointed it's on the main card. I don't think he's main card material just yet. But hey,
Over
the
my
UFC's
boy Chris
pushing it.
Curtis and Gastelum. Come on, man. Michael
Mm-hmm.
Chiesa and Li Liang. Come on, man. Kind of
And
disrespectful, but
speaking of a fight that I think should be on a fight night is Kevin Holland against
that's what I'm saying. You
Ponzinibbio.
said that was when we fight tonight. I think this is fighting tonight for sure.
It depends on what version of Kevin Holland we get.
What? He always be scrapping. What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, until Hamzat, flips in 50 different ways.
Bro, Ponzinibbio is not Hamza.
I know he's
He's
not,
gonna be
but
scrapping too.
the thing with Kevin Holland is though, man, the motivation's not there anymore. Like you could see with him with his fake retirements and then them having to up his pay to come back and the Wonder Boy fight, he was there but he wasn't there. Like I don't know. I think Kevin Holland, man, supremely talented. Guy's a
I
black
mean, you're
belt
just
under.
a Kevin Holland hater because he almost finished.
No,
He
I
almost
no
finished.
no
He
no
almost
no.
finished Wonder Boy, bro.
Listen, I'm not a Kevin Holland hater. I believe in Kevin Holland. The man has a black belt under Travis Lutter. Man has won Eddie Bravo tournaments. He's a terrific fighter. It's just up here he's got to put it all together when he's in the octagon. And I think for him, he either gets in his head too much or he doesn't trust his tools enough. And I think for Kevin Holland, if Kevin Holland put it all together, you got a guy that could be fighting for titles. But he doesn't. He doesn't put it all together. He kind of gets stuck in his own head sometimes. And so Ponzinibbio, I think, is a good fight for him. I think they're both gonna go out there and scrap like you said. But if Kevin Holland starts getting frustrated, it's a 3 round fight, so it's not a 5 rounder. So I mean, I don't know, man. This fight's a coin flip in my opinion. I think a minus 280 favorite is a little too much for Kevin Holland, but it is what it is.
I mean, I feel like he has better grappling and better stand up. So I think that's for my opinion. I think that should justify the favoritism. So then you got Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez, looked up right there with Sean O'Malley as one of the guys in bantamweight that could be potential champ one day. Rob Font, he's usually that guy that breaks people into the top 10, top five. Will this be the fight that gets him out of the top 10 and make him start towards his retirement? So we'll see. I
Mm-hmm.
think Yanez gets it done because Rob Font lets people touch him too much. But Rob
Yeah,
Font is a good fighter, though, so I could see Rob Font pulling it. I think this one's like 50-50, but I would lean towards Yanez a little bit.
yeah. I think Rob Font, his output's insane, striking wise, but um, like you said, he gets touched way too much. I think for Adrian Yanez, who is good at fighting at distance, I think it's tough. It kind of reminds me of the Cheeto fight in a way for Rob Font because it's like you're fighting a guy who you might be able to touch him, but they're so good at defending and being at distance that like it won't. I think he might get frustrated again. And it's a 3 rounder, it's not a 5 rounder. I
Yeah,
think for Adrian
he
Yanez,
got them
like
hands. The boy got them.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's gonna be a tough part for Rob Font is like if he can't put out Adrian Yanez, I don't see him winning a decision. With the way he
Yeah,
fights.
I think Yanez knocks him out.
I can see that 100%. I can see that, and so because Rob Font, man, late I saw in the Cheeto fight, his shots landed. They just got like no zing behind them. Like it's just they're
It was
landing,
too
but it's almost
technical.
exactly they're too technical. They're too technical, and I think the thing is, if you want to knock guys out, you have to. It's like with Max Holloway. Why doesn't Max Holloway knock guys out? And it's because it becomes more point fighting and technical boxing than picking your shots and loading up on one or two rather than like just kind of coasting through every single shot. And so, Adrian Yanez, man, I think sky's the limit for him. I love Adrian Yanez. I think if he wins this fight, you definitely throw him up there um, against the likes of like Cheeto and all those guys. So yeah, I love it. What's up, Teddy?
He was out licking my face. Then we got the co-main event banger fight between Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. Why is Jorge Masvidal ranked 11? Like his last three fights are Usman, and Covington. Like how did he get ranked so bad down? But hey, it is what it is. I don't think he wins this fight either way. I got Gilbert Burns winning this by submission, or honestly, I can see Gilbert Burns knocking him out too. So I got Gilbert Burns winning by finish.
Um, I can see Gilbert Burns by submission. I don't see it by knockout.
I do
Um,
because I feel like he's gonna be worried about the take. Same thing like with Usman, or he'd be too worried about the takedowns, or he might be like tired in round three from getting grappled up. And then I mean, Gilbert Burns
right.
did drop Usman. He dropped
Yeah, no, and
Jemayev too.
Gilbert,
Don't forget he
and
dropped
yeah,
Jemayev.
exactly. He dropped Shemaev as well. I think with Jorge though, like one thing you can lean on is he's always going to have good striking and pretty good defense. Like even against Wonder Boy, the reason Wonder Boy couldn't really put him out is because like even though he was knocking down Jorge, they were they were more like push shots. They weren't like he was wobbling him. Jorge does have a really good chin, except for Usman, which that was different. That was a different kind of shot. I think it's a good fight. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna be a good fight. I think Gilbert wins this convincingly, and I love Jorge. I love Jorge to death. Miami guy, Cuban American guy. I love Jorge. I just think Gilbert Burns on something different right now, man. Like he wants a shot at the title bad. I think he had every opportunity to beat Usman, and he realizes that he could have won that fight. So for him, he's on a roll right now to get back and try to get a title shot. I think with the UFC reaffirming yesterday that Colby is getting the next title shot, regardless of what Leon Edwards says. I think this fight is for it's for Shavkat or Bilal in terms of like who they get next. Like the way this fight's set up, and then for a co-main event in Miami, they're playing to the Miami crowd. I love that. They're gonna get into it. Yeah, it's a good co-main, and Jorge's always game. He won't back down either. So
I think
yeah, I think it's a good fight. I don't think Jorge necessarily wins this though. I think if it was 5 rounds, it'd be a better fight. But at 3 rounds, I think Gilbert at -470, huge favorite. I can see why. You know.
Yeah, I just think Jorge just his grappling's not there, his wrestling's not there, and also his striking is there, but it's only good in bunches because his cardio is not like top tier. So I feel like if he gets his cardio to where the bunches can turn into majority of the time, he'd be like top tier striker. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it'll be a good fight. There'll be some power. There'll be some significant strikes going back and forth. So before he goes to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got the rematch. We got Alex Pereira defending his belt against Izzy Adesanya. Uh, I don't know, man. This one's for me is 50-50.
I agree. I agree 100%. And the thing is, Alex Pereira, man, um, bro, he filmed a reaction video to Izzy's reaction to the last pay
He
per
just
view,
he just
and
be hating him.
but he be hating in a way where it's like he doesn't even have to talk. He just like it's when you see the face of a guy doesn't even smile, and you know the fact that he knocked you out cold before. That's a different kind of flex. Like he lives rent free in Izzy's head from their kickboxing days, and like I one thing I noticed watching the last fight, like I had Izzy winning the fight up until Pereira got the fight stopped, but I had never seen Izzy fight so almost timid in a way. Even the Kelvin Gastelum fight, he was putting it. I think with Pereira, he was just kind of moderating himself because he didn't want to get caught with a shot. And I think for Pereira, it was almost the same thing until he realized like, okay, I can hit this guy. Because you look at near the end of the fight when he knocked down Izzy, he started letting go because he realized like I can eat his best shot and survive. But he was catching Izzy with some shots and Izzy was just missing him every time back. And I think it reminds me of Edwards Usman. And that's another thing. Guys winning back their titles is not often in the UFC. So the odds are not in Izzy's favor for this fight. The psychological factor of him fighting the guy that took his title is going to be there. So what version of Israel Adesanya are we going to get this fight?
You need that Paulo Costa version.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
I watched that fight. I watched the Pereira fight and I watched the Costa fight. It's two different guys. I feel like if he goes in there with that mentality, like this is my shit, versus going in there versus I got to try to survive 5 rounds. Like I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you look at the end of the fight, the first round, he had him hurt. Like he could have finished him if there was more time on the clock. So I think he just needs to fight like trying to like finish him instead of trying to win a point battle because you're not going to win a point battle because he's going to catch you. For
Mm-hmm.
5 rounds, he's gonna catch you. If it
Mm-hmm.
was a 3 round fight, you probably could get point fight him. But for 5 rounds, this guy is just too dangerous, bro.
And the thing with Pereira is, man, like he's made of stone. Other than Izzy wobbling him at the end of the first, Pereira was not getting hurt. Like he was,
The
he
way he
was.
fights is just like stand up straight. His hands are in your way. All your
Mm-hmm.
shots. It's hard to get a clean shot on him.
And he doesn't have to check leg kicks because the man's made out of like, 30 extra pounds of muscle by the time he gets the fight night from the weigh-ins. Like, bro, he reminds me. You know what he is. He is what Yoel Romero would be if Yoel Romero was 6'4",
Yeah.
in terms of like just rock solid, packs on a ton of weight and muscle. And I think for Izzy, the last guy he fought that was this heavy, I'm not gonna count Jared Cannonier because that fight was a snooze fest. Jan Blachowicz. Izzy, the fights that he's lost in is against bigger guys. Guys that are just 20 extra
Yeah, he
pounds
needs to
come
put on
fighting
some
him.
weight for this fight.
He needs to. He needs to. And I think it's tough because he's got to put it on and cut it. And I think in this short amount of time he's had since the last fight, it's tough. We saw with John Jones. It takes a minute for you to put on weight to kind of move up. But like you got Alex Pereira cutting down from what is it, 220, 230 pounds? It's insane. He started cutting weight
Last week,
a few days ago. Like the man's just doing sauna suits already and stuff, and we're like what 2 weeks out from fight. So I think for Alex Pereira, he knows he's coming in heavier. He knows he's coming in stronger. And I think for Alex Pereira, if he worked on his grappling enough in this camp, I think it makes it more interesting on the feet because then the idea of you getting taken down isn't there. It's a striking battle, and I love Izzy to death, but Alex Pereira as a striker, that man reminds me of Rumble Johnson the way he touches people, man.
just the
Like,
power. It's not even like he's technically good as fuck too, but Izzy's better technically. It's just that Pereira just has demon power. Like sends people to the shadow realm.
bro, I'm the Sean Strickland knockout. Like, it wasn't even that hard of a punch in terms of like he didn't throw his whole weight behind
Yeah,
it. He just casually grazed him with a left hook, and Sean Strickland goes, like, that's
and Sean
wild.
Strickland went 5 rounds with Jared Cannonier. So
Yeah, and for a guy to have that much power, I mean, brother, it's gonna be a great main event. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think it goes 5 rounds.
yeah, I think Izzy's game plan is gonna probably try to be like more towards a finish. And I think Pereira, he's just it's inevitable. Like he's going for the finish. So I think I don't think it goes 5 rounds, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I think Izzy, what he needs to do is more less of the calf kicks and more of just those front oblique kicks, or you take some of
Mhm.
John Jones style kicks, them side front, like fuck up this guy's knees.
Here's the tough part with the kicks though, is the fact that both these guys are the same height, right? Same reach. And one thing this I realized this during the Daniel Lacerda fight last night is if you're throwing a leg kick and you're not far away enough, your opponent can counter with an overhand because you have to open yourself up with your hands to throw those leg kicks. And if you're close enough, boom, they can connect. And that's what CJ Vergara was having success with for most of the fight was when Lacerda would throw a leg kick, he would just throw an overhand over the top because there was no guard there. Izzy keeps a good guard, don't get me wrong, but he has to get really close to Pereira to hit his legs compared to his body. It's just that's the way the science works with their feet positioning and stuff. Alex Pereira has already put one guy in the shadow realm in the UFC with an overhand left, right? I think for Izzy, he what you say, he needs those John Jones type of leg kicks where he can kind of do a side
Yeah,
kick to the knee where he doesn't have to put himself in danger. It's just a matter of is that in Izzy's game? Is that something he can drill into his habits before this fight and stick with it, Because like we saw with the Cheeto fight last night, you can tell a guy to get going, you can tell a guy to do this, but if it's in their habit to fight slow or throw a certain technique, it's very hard for them to get out of that routine. And so for Izzy, he's used to fighting these kind of like counter striking fights, kind of I hate saying it, but point fighting in a sense. Against Alex Pereira, he has to go in looking for the finish, and like you say, he needs that Paulo Costa. He needs that Paulo Costa mentality, man. Is he gonna get it? I don't think so, because I think if he goes into like that with Alex Pereira can do it right back. You know, so it's tough, man. I got Pereira in this fight, but it's definitely a coin flip. There's a lot of variables in this fight, which makes this, in my opinion, one of the best pay per
yeah.
views of the year.
Um, so yeah, I think If I had to put my life on it, I'd say Pereira, but I think it's 50-50. I wouldn't bet on it, but so let's match make real quick for middleweight after this fight. So let's say Pereira wins. What's the matchmaking you're doing for the top? Let's do like the top five.
Robert Whitaker.
So if Pereira wins, you're gonna give him Robert Whitaker. Izzy probably goes and fights. I don't know. There's nobody for him to fight. Sean Strickland.
I think if I'm the UFC, I don't book a Paulo Costa fight until after this pay per view because if Pereira beats Izzy, you give him Whitaker, you give Paulo Costa Sean Strickland, and you give Hamzat to Izzy.
Okay.
I think that's the best way to. But then if Izzy wins, you can't book another Whitaker
No.
fight.
So I do
No,
Whitaker
not
Chimaev.
yet. And but you can either book Chimaev or you'd have to wait for Chimaev to fight Whitaker. And then Paulo Costa against Sean Strickland, and then Pereira takes the
They're gonna do the
sideline.
trilogy. No, they're gonna do the trilogy. If he wins, they're gonna do
Yeah,
the trilogy. It should be Whitaker, Chimaev, or Costa Chimaev, or Costa Cannonier, Cannonier and Vittori. All these guys
yeah.
has fought each other, so that's Whitaker and Izzy's beat all these guys. So that's what makes it weird. That's why I like
You
Chimaev
know,
though. So
for my own personal pleasure, feed Marvin Vittori to Hamzat. Just put him on a plate. He gets him. He's gonna get him out in less than 3 minutes, and I want to see every second
yeah, I
of
would
it.
love to see
Like
that. The cap.
I am a Marvin Vittori hater. I will stand by that. The man is, yeah. I cannot stand Marvin Vittori. I cannot stand his personality. I cannot stand his fighting style. I cannot stand his T-Rex arms. I cannot stand his
See him.
tattoos. I cannot stand the fact he has a number 3 ranking for doing absolutely nothing. There you go.
He's out
Yep.
here hammer
Yeah.
fisting Italian boxers.
Yeah, man, like that. if you guys haven't seen the video, there was a brawl. One of Marvin Vittori's friends is a rapper, and he got into it with this other Italian rapper who's also a boxer. And as the guy's getting pushed out of the way, like he's covering up, he's getting hit by a bunch of people. Marvin Vittori, I know, just casually goes
Three hammer fist,
hammer
hammer fist,
fist,
hammer fist, and the guy just
and the
died.
guy just goes flying. It was a good watch, man. That one. Nah, man, Marvin Vittori. I mean, it's weird. Like you said, all these guys fought each other. The only new guy really up in these ranks is Driscus Duplessis and now
Right.
Hamza. And it should be Roman Dolidze, but Dolidze got robbed against Vittori, so it's tough to put him in a fight with these guys. So congrats. This is what you get for not drug testing the judges. You get this mess going on in the rankings now because Marvin Vittori somehow got a 30-27 against Roman Dolidze. But hey, I digress. So.
Last thing I want to bring up, they're trying to make that rematch between Cody Garbrandt and Dominic Cruz. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think it's perfect because I think for Dominic Cruz, regardless how this fight goes, it's probably his last. Um, and I think for Cody Garbrandt, man, I I rewatched that T.J. Dillashaw fight, the first one, and like you can tell his chin and his confidence now are just gone compared to. I think that fight was definitely the beginning of the end. He's only won one fight since then. Two. Sorry.
Steroids took his career, bro.
Yes, steroids took his career, and also his chin getting touched so much really took a toll on him. Him fighting with his hands down, and so I would love to see the fight. I think it'd be a good fight. Make it a 5 rounder fight night main event.
They got nobody ranked for 15th at bantamweight, so just give him a 15th ranking just because, and then throw the fight together. Fuck it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think at a division like bantamweight, Dominic Cruz at number 7. Um, I think with him on the way out and him losing to Cheeto, I think you almost don't put him in the ranking. Like he's there, but he's not really a factor at number 7. And that's nothing against Dominic Cruz. I mean, he's a legend of the sport, but the reality is he's not getting another title shot ever again. And so I think it's a perfect fight. Give Cody Garbrandt, and I think, but the scary
Well, they
part
took
is
Saeed
if
out the
Cody,
rankings.
huh?
I just realized they took Saeed. Like, they don't have a 15th ranked bantamweight. Saeed
Yeah,
was ranked. So why they just not put him at 15th?
Don't tell me he got cut, bro. Don't. You never know. You never know. We might get a notification. No. I think the scary part though is if Cody does beat Dominic Cruz, he can then say, "Oh, I beat the number 7 bantamweight in the world," and that causes a whole
I
nother
just don't
mess.
think there's an if though. I don't think he beats him. Like he's trash. Like come on now.
I don't think he beats him, but you never know. That's the thing. You never know. And I don't want Cody Garbrandt in 2023 to say that he beat the number 7 bantamweight in the world. Because all the guys below Dominic Cruz, Song Yadong, Pedro Munoz, who already knocked out Cody Garbrandt, Ricky Simone, Umar, Adrian Yanez, Chris Gutierrez, and Jonathan Martinez all beat Cody Garbrandt. So I don't know. I don't need Cody Garbrandt in the ranking picture again.
So I think that's gonna do it for episode 8 of Glove Talk. Guys, go peep the
Mhm.
Instagram at the Glove Talk Podcast and like and subscribe. And we'll be back not next week, but the week after that, after the Izzy card. So we'll be
Mhm.
dropping more videos on YouTube and more clips. So you guys tune in. So
Yeah, we'll be making a bunch of content for you guys, getting you ready for the Pereira Izzy card, and yeah, man. Thank you guys for all the love. We appreciate it. And whatever you do, guys, just remember, please go on Twitter, spam USADA, spam the UFC. We need to drug test these refs. We need to drug test these judges. I don't know what's going on. I know they talk about the opioid crisis in America. There's an opioid crisis going on in the mixed martial arts world.
you saw the judges.
USADA judges, man.